So today I just wanted to make this really quick video about something that I do. It's like my process whenever I'm trying to create images or short projects or whatever it might be. I always have the same kind of process. Or I find that myself whenever I'm lacking in motivation for whatever reason it might be, whenever I hit like this roadblock of creativity, I do this thing where I constantly search throughout the internet and I try to find things that inspire me, whether it's listening to music, whether it's reading poetry, or like having conversations with friends. And it's not till recently where a guy called Danny Gavitz coined it as inspirational viewing. And what he does is literally exactly what I do. I didn't know there was a name for it. And what he does is he goes through and he watches films or music videos, and he takes like certain shots or certain colors that make him feel some type of way, or shots that he really enjoys. It might be like the camera movement or whatever thing that he likes, and that I like as well. He kind of screenshots and saves it into like a file that he can pick references from later on in life or whenever he wants to do projects. And so this idea of inspirational viewing is anything that you can be inspired by when it comes to your own work. For example, you can literally be inspired by anything, whether it's like walking down the street and, you see people walking and talking, or they might be sat outside a cafe or a bar or a restaurant, and you really like that kind of setup. You can always say like a mental note and kind of like try and recreate that same setup in one of your future projects. This constantly happens to me where I'm just walking down the street and I'll see like a bridge or, I don't know, like an alleyway or like a field, and I'll say, this would be really cool to film something in this style, in this location. So I kind of save the location, take it back home, and I put it in like a reference bank of future projects that I might want to work on. Another thing is I watch a lot of music videos, and I'm constantly inspired by music videos, specifically colors. I'm a big fan of colors. And one specific is Malik Berry's Been Callin' music video, where he's in this desert, and the DOP, I'm assuming the DOP used the filter on the lens to make the sky pink. And I've literally fallen in love with like that setup and that look, that now in a lot of my works, I'm always trying to recreate that sky, whether I'm throwing in some purples into the sky or a little bit of pinks into the sunsets. I'm constantly trying to redesign that kind of image in my own work, whether it's in photos or even in video work. And I feel like it's quite important that when you're going through a creative process, you kind of want to, have a look at what other people are doing, not necessarily copy it, but try and reinvent it in your own style. In a lot of my works that I've done in the past, whether it's short films, music videos, ad works, I've constantly taken inspirations from other people, whether I see them in films. Take for example, there's Thor Ragnarok, where there's a scene where Thor, Loki, and Odin are on a cliff looking towards the seaside. And this came out around the same time where I made the script for my film, Lost in Faith. And I remember seeing that scene and saying, I want to recreate this scene within my own film. And I did. Another example was I was watching Kanye West's Lost in the World, or the Runaway short film that he did. And there's this really, well, I found it epic anyway, this epic scene where Kanye's just running through the middle of the woods and he's just running dead at the camera. So I want to recreate the exact same shot, and I did in my own film. I'm speaking to a musician, and my idea for him was try and recreate shots from popular films, and some of the examples I gave was Transformers, La La Land, again because we love that pink or purple sky, and recreate certain scenes from these films that can go into his music video. But as I mentioned, it doesn't have to be specifically films or visual mediums. You can be inspired by absolutely anything. It can be music. You might hear a certain lyric, and especially within like hip hop and rap music, the storytelling aspect is, to me, is top notch. This is why I love hip hop, is whenever they rap, they're telling a story. So when I'm imagining the story, I'm thinking, okay, where are they? What are they wearing? What colors can I see in the image? And these are all the kind of things that you should be thinking about as a filmmaker that you want to implement within your stories. My suggestion and like my advice, I suppose, is to do inspirational viewing, where you have a look at a bunch of different things, whether it's inspirational viewing, inspirational listening, inspirational reading, or even, painting, or just going for walks. You can be inspired by nature, and you can be inspired by a number of different things. The idea of this video is just to give you guys a way to be inspired by your everyday lives, whether you're watching something, having conversations, or listening to things. You can be inspired by multitude of different things. You can even be inspired by your dreams and when you sleep. And I think for me personally, I take a lot of inspiration as well from other directors, as well as I'm not inspired by anything that I see on social media or anything. Like, I don't really like cool flashy transitions and super sharp images that you get to see on Instagram and social media. I like a lot more of like the faded classic film look, which has a little bit of grain, it has a little bit of grit to it, which I find sometimes that people don't accept it in social media. I might be wrong, but that's just my perception of it. To me, the general public believe that film belongs on the big screen and not on the screen of your phone. On your phone, the only thing that they want to see is quick transitions and really flashy images and cool videos and crisp, sharp HD, 4K, 6K, 8K videos that they can engage with. Whereas to me, I don't find that appealing at all, and I'm not inspired by it. So to me, I'd much rather watch an old film and get a sense of that gritty look. I want to see the imperfections in the frame. And that's what inspires me. I'm inspired by rich colors and not, crushed blacks and crushed shadows and high contrast. Like, that's not me. And whenever I'm in these types of moods where I've run into a creative barrier, I'm constantly going back through old films that I'm watching and just trying to get re-inspired again. Because my love for filmmaking runs from the fact that I fell in love with all these amazing images and the movements and the acting and the colors. And yeah, so this is just kind of motivation to you guys as creators, that whenever you're going through maybe a creative block, just take a step back and just watch some things. Find frames that you like, save it, take a screenshot, whatever, write it down, and attempt to recreate those exact moments in your own ways, because that can really burst out your own creative juices, and you can even make whole stories from it. And also, so I've got this book, and it's called The Filmmaker Says, Quotes, Quips, and Words of Wisdoms. And this has got loads and loads of different quotes about filmmakers that directors, DOPs, editors have kind of said over the years. And what I'm going to be doing in my videos from now on is kind of just reading a quote, some of my favorite quotes from this book. So I'll start this first one with actually the very first quote in the book, which I really love. And it says, "No saint, no pope, no general, no sultan has ever had the power that a filmmaker has. The power to talk to hundreds of millions of people for 2 hours in the dark."